Hello everyone, this is Gary, and in this video I'm going to use the DSC Labs ChromaMatch Pro color chart in order to verify the amount of tint that the PolarPro BaseCamp ND filters cause on your footage, and I will also compare that with the Freewell Magnetic ND filters. So let's get started. So in this video I will be using the ND4, or the 2-stop filter, on the PolarPro BaseCamp system, and I'll be comparing it to the ND4 on the Freewell system as well. Freewell doesn't offer a ND2, so it's not going to be a big deal. I rarely need an ND2 anyways. So as you can see, the PolarPro BaseCamp Matte Box is quite large. So we're just putting an ND4 in here. Now this is the SmallRig Mini Matte Box, and I currently have the Freewell Magnetic ND4 on there. See? So here it is. Here you can see it's an ND4. We'll just go and put that in there. So the SmallRig matte box, or the mini matte box that they sell, actually supports circular filters, which is quite nice. And so anyway, we're going to go and compare these filters right now and see what the color cast is like. Alright, this is a control shot. We have no filters attached to the camera. With the control shot here, what I've done is, of course, I've set my white balance properly. However, I'm going to leave my ISO at 400 on every single shot and only control the exposure with shutter speed, or in this case shutter angle, so that we can eliminate any sort of color casting as a result of increasing the ISO. So my shutter angle right now is 90 degrees, and I will increase it to 360 degrees on the ND filter test to gain the 2 stops of light back. Alright, this is with the PolarPro BaseCamp matte box applied, and we are using an ND4. So now we're using the PolarPro BaseCamp with an ND4, or a 2-stop reduction in light, and a 358 degree shutter angle, basically 360 degrees, and of course ISO 400 with the aperture wide open at f1.7. Okay, so now we're using this SmallRig Mini Matte Box with the Freewell Magnetic ND filter system, and we're just using an ND4 here. Alright, so now we're using the Freewell Magnetic ND4, which is of course a 2-stop reduction in light, and of course we've got the shutter angle set to 358, ISO 400, and f1.7. Of course, it was at f1.7 on the control shot too. Alright, so I've got the footage loaded into DaVinci Resolve, and so here's the control shot. Notice the waveform. This is the PolarPro shot. Again, you can see that it is a 2-stop reduction in light, so this is correct. However, the Freewell filters, they're not quite 2 stops. So we would probably need to expose this a little differently, or in this case, we'll just add a little bit of gain to sort of fake it. It's not really exactly what you should do, but for now we will do that. Now let's go look at the vectorscope. So here's the control shot, and this is the PolarPro filters. You can see there's a very close match, extremely close, as good as it gets for filters of this price. And then you've got the Freewell filters. You can see that there's a little bit of a color shift, but it's not much, and I like that they're magnetic and they're small. But the PolarPro ones give the most accurate results straight out of camera with the filter applied. With the Freewell ones, you just need to be aware that there's a minor bit of color cast. It's very minor. You don't even really have to correct it like I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to grab a still of the control shot, and you can see we are going to load it up into the viewer here, and we're going to go to our Freewell filters. And you can see these are the Freewell filters, and it's the control shot. So this is the control shot right here. These are the Freewell filters. I'm going to get rid of all this. I'm going to add another node, and I'm going to set the key output to 0.2 so that major adjustments to the offset won't really affect it that much. So let's see how this looks. There really isn't much of a bias in any one overall direction, so that's pretty good to know. So what we can do is gain it down a little bit, and you can see that maybe we can do a little bit of an offset. And now that bottom portion is matching quite well. Of course, some of the vector colors are going to be a little bit different, but as you can see, the greens now are matching close enough. We might want to go into the hue versus sat here and bring up the reds just a little bit. And then we will go ahead and verify how that looks. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Tone it down. You can see we have now shifted it, so I'm doing a before and after here. There was a little bit of bias towards the blue. Of course, we could also make this a little bit less so that now it's not so pronounced. anyway, that's kind of how I would go about it. Of course, I would take it a bit more serious than this. I'm just demonstrating that not only is there a little bit of color cast on the Freewell filters, but that it can easily be corrected in DaVinci Resolve. You can do a test shot like this, and then you can use a color chart. You don't have to necessarily use an expensive color chart like this. You could use anything really, and you could then dial in the adjustments you need to make to get it to be a bit more neutral. And then of course you can bake that out to a LUT if you wish to. So anyway, I hope this video helped you see that it is true that the Freewell filters have a little bit of color cast compared to the PolarPro ones. The PolarPro ones are better. The Freewell filters have a very minor color cast, so I wouldn't consider it really a big deal. So to me, they're totally acceptable to be used. So another option is to remove the tint in camera. And so in this case, I've got the Panasonic GH5 II, and it has a built-in vectorscope. You can then set your white balance to the white card and then put your ND filter on and dial out the tint with the tint option here. Of course, you can also use a much larger vectorscope if you have that option. Here is the Small HD Focus 7, and you can see that what I found after a little bit of experimentation is that A1M1 seemed to give a slightly better result. And of course, there's a much better way of doing this if you have everything locked down. But again, the idea is you can remove the tint in camera, or at least most of it, and then you may not have to necessarily make a LUT in post. So just keep that in mind. That is another option. Anyways, I hope this video helped, and thanks for watching.